Hello and welcome. Um, I've been doing a lot of refactoring recently, changing the way my application works quite a lot. And every time I change it, I have to go to the command line and find some curl command and send some commands to the server to test stuff out. And that's getting a bit annoying. It's not a great way to work. It's a little bit, I wouldn't say unprofessional, but it's not the way I like to work. I'd much rather have automated tests running. So I figured that this week, instead of just continuous refactoring, I might take a little detour and try and get some tests in place so that when I make some changes in Servant, I can just run the automated tests and at least check that the basic functionality is still there. And then I can use this for when I reintroduce the availability code, because that's a little bit more complex. It requires some setup, so having an automated test for that would be quite good. So that's the plan for today. It might take quite a lot of time to get anything working because it's all new stuff, but it might also be quite good because one of the reasons I was quite interested in Servant was partly because it has the sort of type level routing information, but also because from those types you can then generate not just a server, but also clients and documentation. So for the testing, what I think we're going to do is generate a client automatically from the route definition, and then use that to write some automated testing. I think so. I took a quick look at the web page, and it seemed to suggest that was the thing to do. So let's just get stuck in. Okay, so this is the application we have. As far as I'm aware, it works. Actually, I'm gonna check it kind of works. So get a baseline of making sure I didn't write a load of tests and find it didn't work. But that's because I've broken it. I'm pretty sure I'm running Docker somewhere. I think I run Docker Compose already. So I should just be able to say stack run or cabal run. Which did I say last time? I think it was stack. Let's take myself my history. Yeah, it was stack. Okay, cool. That's right. I'm just going to send one of the curl commands at it. Cool. There are no bookings for environment 2, whatever that is. So it's basically working, right? I can get environments back. It compiles. I can get environments 1 back, presumably. I can get bookings for that. And some bookings exist. Okay, so the application is basically functional. So what I want to do is take a look at writing a test for it. So in the Servant cookbook, it's got a guide to how to test things. This is the part I'm most interested in. So generating Servant client to send requests to the API, and we check stuff is running. I'm kind of curious about how this will work because it will need to have access to a database. So presumably when I start the API, it says start the API in another thread. Presumably when I do that, I will need to pass it the config, which means I can build some kind of test config and probably set up a test database to do more of a kind of integration style testing. But I'll have a look at that, see how it works. This next test, the HBIC way, is that way or Y? I can't remember how it's pronounced. That would be good, but I'm not as interested in the exception conditions at the moment. The Servant quick check sounds really interesting. So make sure the application conforms to best practices. I probably won't get to that today, but it does sound like a really interesting thing to add. Okay, so I'm just going to, what am I going to do? It's a lot of stuff to copy, isn't it? I could just copy it, but maybe what I will do is copy the business logic spec and work back to make it, to import the right stuff to make it work. Because the business logic one is the one I'm most interested in. It's an example of the application, but we have an application already. Okay, you can use servant client. So I'm just going to grab this, I think, and I'll paste it in, and then, oh, hang on, this is the case where they're running it, is that right? Oh no, they seem to be starting up inside the test. I think this is what I want. Okay, so let's just give this a go, see if we can get it to work. So I think I already have a spec directory. Test directory, test, and we have this magic line, which tells it to find specs. So in theory, I could do something like, maybe just call it server spec, something like that. Let's go for that. Naming stuff is always hard. Test, server spec.hs. I can say module autocomplete. It's not going to autocomplete anything. Okay, should be enough to make it exist. If I go to the file file, I think I need to tell the test section it exists as well. Other modules add parser the simple spec, so I could also add server spec into there so that Cabal is happy. Okay, I'm probably going to need to add some of the servant stuff into here, but we'll do that when we get to it, I think. Okay, so this is my module server spec. If I just open up the parser spec for a minute. So I need to implement something called spec of type spec and export that. So I could do those, and I could say something like it fails. And I could say something like 1 should be 2. Let's try that. Okay, so I don't need to import the parser for this. I probably do need relude. hspec megaparsec. Don't need that. Okay. So I then say spec in here, and let's see if I've set up a key binding to run the tests. Looks like I have, so I'm hoping for a failure. 1 should be 2. Is this a compile error? Wow. Okay, it doesn't know what type 1 and 2 are. An unexpected failure. Very clever type system. Thing should be other thing. It might not know these either because I've got overloaded strings, but we'll see if it can work out enough. Yes, that's better. Okay, no type error this time, but a test error because these things don't match. Okay, so I have a place to put my test, which is quite good. This beer really is quite something. It called dessert in a can, and it tastes of chocolate and vanilla in a beery way. It's quite good. Might get a bit much. Right, what was I doing before I got straight up here? I was copying and pasting some stuff. This stuff that should probably no longer have my cut buffer. Okay. So we'll leave spec in here. Just move it up a little bit. So let's do some stuff. So we need warp. Oh, I haven't used a round before. That's the thing. That sounds quite useful. So around with user app, and then we'll do all of these things. So I'll need to make all of this work, but first we need to worry about warp, I guess. So if I go back to Cabal file for a second, warp should be one of the dependencies in here. So I can just stick it there. And then in theory, I should be able to import it here. Not sure if that's the one I want to import. Network way handler warp. Let's see. They imported network way handler warp. Okay, got it right. Here's what I know. Okay. It's suggesting it has reduced this. So yeah, let's do that. It will not do it for me. Okay. Probably confused by the comment. Okay. So the next thing is I will need to create a client for my API. So my API, I kind of have two APIs, but I might have defined it as a single one in here. I have to move more code around. So I have user API, but it's not being exported obviously from main because it isn't exporting anything. So maybe I need to move the definition of my API into somewhere. I could just create an API, I guess, but that would probably have to go into source, so it might be a bit of code moving here. Okay, if the only thing I need is the API, let me see if that's true, but if the only thing I need is the API, then I can basically move all this stuff in, because I think, yeah, everything else is imported. And then I'll just leave the kind of the main function behind, which is doing the migrations, which I might need to move somewhere as well. So it's doing migration stuff, and then it's running this boilerplate stuff, which you kind of need, I think, to be able to run a servant app. I think it's just standard boilerplate. So in theory, I could try moving this into its own file. So I just take a look at their example. They got user API here. They are defining the server here. They don't seem to be importing. Maybe they'll have it all in one file, actually, in this example. Yeah, okay. But their user API, I have a similar type, I think. I call it environment API. Okay, so I'm going to just grab this stuff. This stuff, and let's do the server as well. Why do they call it user API? I guess it's copied some code previously. Is that used anywhere? Yes, down here. Okay. I might not just clean some of this up as we go as well. So in source, let's create something called api.hs. I'm going to say module API. I'll have to explain a whole bunch of stuff, but basically this. Okay, and then we need a whole load of imports. So we will need servant, I guess. We need to pull in this. Legal type environments. Perhaps I intend to use data kind. I did. Okay, that's going to help a lot. Okay, and this comes from type operators? Apparently, yes. Okay, and entity is going to come from persistent. That should do. Int64 is going to come from somewhere. Data int, apparently. Okay, why not? App. Okay, so app is interesting. This is the appm, or the reader T Monadeo thingy. Oh, the just stuff is because of I haven't got ReLUde. Okay, JSON encoding is going to come from ASIN. Which one did I import before? I just imported, I can't see it, ASIN is JSON. Okay. Bookings. Where is bookings here? Okay, so anything I don't have is app. Do I need these? Should these be in here? Because I need the API for my test. But I don't think I need the server itself. So it seems to be starting at warp and giving it proxy to the API, and then all this stuff is just the types that they're using, the resources they're using. So I could probably get away with not moving these things before that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this, but I want to export all of these routes. So okay, we're going to export all of this stuff. Go on. No, there. A bit weird. I think that's going to do it. Yep. So change that to comma return. Close enough. Just save, actually, it'll fix it for me. Okay. So we're going to export. We don't need to export bookings list bookings. We don't need to export, actually create and get come from the environments module. So the only other thing I think I need to export here is the API itself. Okay. Which booking is this? Is this booking or is it now booking? I can't remember how far I got with the refactoring. Okay, so now the only thing I'm going to export is the environment API from here. Find imports, import qualified booking DB as booking. Find import. Okay, I think it's because it got re-exported from booking, so it tidied it up, but I don't know if that was necessary. I should get rid of those things as well. So this is just importing the types it needs. Okay. This data int I can get rid of because it only showed up because I was not importing RELUde and it got the wrong import. I can make these explicit. Let's do that. And I think we're good. So in theory now I can go back to main. Oh no, before that, let's go to file. And in the library, also export API. Get a second to process. I think it's done. Okay, go back to main. Right. Now in here, what I want to do basically is that. Then we should be able to just import this from API. Okay, I've got one of the bookings wrong. It's not booking, it is DAO booking. That's annoying. But it's just a thing. Okay. So it's not booking. This is going to be DAO.booking. Protocol for DAO, where to put it? Yep. Okay. At least fix that type error. Okay, so I'm only partway through refactoring booking, but with tests it should be easier, right? So I've now moved definition of the API out of this file somewhere else. So if I go back to my spec, I'm not going to proxy user API, I'm going to proxy environment API. API. Here I go, and we'll import that. Okay. Getting closer. Create a test client function. I mean, maybe I'll just rename this for a second to test env until I know what it does. Okay, now we're missing base URL port, which comes from servant client. Okay, where does port come from? Who knows? Okay, run client, create environment. So it's going to run, I guess, a server on this port. This has to be unique each time. And the result should be some kind of successful user in their case, but in our case it should be an environment. But what will it be? Like, how does it know which endpoint to run? It says here, just describe post user, so we can do post environment. I'm just curious as to where, how we're running it. Go back to example for a second. So their API has got a single endpoint. And their handler just says, oh, I think I see. So, sorry, their endpoint takes an integer and returns a user. So this is the data that gets passed into their create endpoint. Right. Right-ish. So how do we tell it? How does it know which endpoint that is? Because this is post user. But how does it know it's posting to user? So given some port, it runs create user, which is their proxy to user API, and the user API has a single endpoint here. But what do I want to call a different endpoint? I don't know mock stuff. I just want to see. Oh, there's a lot of. I don't really understand in their spec why this is the endpoint for creating a user and not the entire API. Let me just run something. So you say it's some kind of environment. I can't remember what the fields for the environment are, but I can get it to work it out. This has got something like name. Oh, I think it returns an entity environment, actually. So an entity environment, use the correct language, name is something like that. Okay, name is not in scope, so we can just do, let's import environment DB, environment, all the fields. Okay, and it's not called name, it must be called environment name, I guess. I'll get rid of brackets. It doesn't need entity, we need to pull in from database persist entity, I guess. Okay, now we have better errors, I think. So user app is not a thing. This is... Oh, I need to look for user app. Okay, maybe I do need the whole application, not just the API. Right, we'll go and fix that in a second. So clients will come from servant client. This comes from servant client. Wow. Ooh. It says replace with warp.setManager. We need to look at that in a second. One client name comes from client, I guess. Create environment. Ah, good. Okay, so the type is wrong. It expects record 0 to entity record 0. Basically, it should be environment to environment. Or new environment, sorry, that's right. New environment to maybe environment. Is that right? New environment to maybe environment. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, type checking is working. It's obviously calling the create endpoint. I just don't know why. Create environment. It's going to take a new environment. I don't need the brackets because this is a record. And we can say name is, we'll call this test env. Test. Okay, the new environment, don't replace with environment. This comes from here, it's environment. I don't think I want to import environment.db. I think I just want to use that re-export as thing. So I can pull in, let's see if it works. Can it work out that I need to pull in the environment from there? It cannot, it's too broken. Okay, so we're going to pull in new environment. What does it mean? Not in scope to construct an environment. It means that, I think. It's also called new environment name. So if I have to export a little bit more than before, because I want to create a test instance of this, which is a little bit annoying, but not in the world. Okay, it doesn't return an entity. It should be maybe environment. Yeah, fine, whatever. Maybe it doesn't return the environment. Okay, so I need to export the full constructor from here as well. I didn't mean, maybe I meant just. Right, back to our sim typers. Couldn't match expected type new environment. Bracket shouldn't matter there, but so create environment. Client M entity environment. Oh, it is an entity environment. Damn it. No, it's not. It's like it's the whole thing. So the first route we have is not creation at all. It's listing the environments. It's a second endpoint which goes from new environment to maybe environment. So I would tell it to use the second route. So it couldn't actually expect to type new environment to client and maybe environment. Oops, sorry. Where's my arrow gone? With actual type, yeah, client M entity environment, because or new environment or whatever else. So it's create environment has become the alternative type. So it's got all of the routes in there. But I want to pick out the second route in there. So how do you do that? I'd like to test, so we can use serving client to create a client. So here they're using this to create a client, I think. The base URL is that. Okay. I'm not quite sure what the manager is, but we need to fix that as well. So that probably comes from, might come from here, I don't know. Let's find your base URL and the port. And then they're just saying describe host user. I don't think there's anything special. And you run it with this client and you just give it a port, but that doesn't seem right to me. Again, they've got a search API with a single endpoint, not super useful. They write a client wrapping that up. Then they... Oh, they're actually connecting to Elasticsearch. Okay. Not really super useful. So HSpec way lets you call get, but I want to use their client. Okay, so what I might do is take a look, not the cookbook, but documentation. Let's have a look at how you... Not really that useful. Okay, I want to find out how to create a client, basically. Inspecting, debugging, simulating clients. Maybe that's it. Nope. Okay. So look at the servant docs directly. Is there any about client in here? no. Servant client. What about how to test? This how to test servant applications. Because this is the document I was just reading. So it's the one that already made me confused. When you say client API, you specify the alternatives. Right, okay. I think that makes some sense. So you'd say something like, list environment, don't be sorry. Thank you for trying to suggest the answer, because I quite often miss these things. I need to remap this key. So list environment or create environment. Hopefully I can use alternative and just to kind of on everything else. So you don't care about everything else at the minute. Everything else. Okay, I made a typo go away. Cool. So if that works, then we can place it with an underscore, and then this can also be replaced with an underscore. Got it. Okay, we're not going to test user app, so I need to fix user app. I need to work out what's going on here with the new manager stuff. Let's fix the one that's under my control. So in their example, how to test, they've got this, and then they've got user app is application, and user app is what it says, serve, and then the proxy. Oops. So I've just called it app. Okay, so I'll need to move this to my API, which means I need to move everything, which is a bit annoying, including the definition of this app type, I think. Because there's no place it's used. Okay. So let's go back to API. So this is our routing. I need to put appm in. To pull the handler in from servant. It's coming from servant. It's going to be a lot of importing things. Server T will come from servant. Right, this comes from booking. App config. Oh, this is annoying. Okay. And application will come from servant. Ooh, many more errors. Use fewer imports. Yeah, can you not do that? There we go. Okay, get environment comes from environment. But it should be imported qualified already, so I should be able to say environment. No. Okay. So I can say something like import qualified environment. Sorry, import qualified environment. So environment.get environment. Why can you not find that? This exports get environment. No modular environment is imported. Well, that's a lie. Oh, it's not a lie. Funnily enough, the compiler was not lying. Who can believe it? Okay, this is going to be environment of that, and this is going to be environment of that. We have a lot of servant imports, so I'm just going to import everything from it. Okay, we run out of type errors here. Okay. So now we can go back to here. Nope, sorry, we can go back to main. Just delete that. We should just be able to import app. Right, we need to export app from not there. Keep going there. We'll export that on app. And in theory, we could do this. Okay, it's a lot shorter. There's things we can get rid of. We know that that's not used. What's used in here? So app config is definitely used. App is definitely used. Environment API I don't think is used. Appm is not used inside here directly. That can go, no. So migrations we need, sorry. Logger we need. That one can probably go, that can probably go, that can go. Database pool we probably need. We do not need it, okay. We need this migration. Don't need that anymore. Don't need run anymore. We do need run, whoops. And servant. Oh wow, interesting, we don't need servant. Okay, so this file is now just going to do the migrations and then run the application using using warp in this case. And then this does all of defining the API. So in the spec, all of that, so I can replace this with app and then tell it to import that. No. Okay, all of that work and I got it wrong. So it's not this one that I need. Okay, so it might be this. Let me go back here and take a look at their type. So they are importing user app, which is of type application. They haven't said what that is, but it's calling serve basically. And the thing for me, it's calling serve is app. Ah, of course, right? Okay, so it's not that. The app needs a config to run, so it should be config here. So what do we do with the config? So you can say something like config is app config and the pool or dbcon, called dbcon, is equal to something, but I need to create a connection. So let's create a connection here. So now I need to say do, and then I'll need to say let, and then I'll need to import app config. No, I need to import app config. Not quite. Okay, this one needs a logger. No. This one needs persistent. This needs overloaded strings. No. Actually, does it have a fix for this? No, it doesn't. Okay. Getting there. Okay, so we're now back to the doesn't understand new manager. So this is connecting to our normal Postgres database. I don't really want to do that. So let's do Docker compose. So we'll do, I'm going to test DB. The reason I'm changing that is so that I can't accidentally connect the wrong database with the wrong credentials and drop the wrong database. Because it's always painful when that happens. We'll do this as 65432. So back up here, we can say PostgreSQL bookie column bookie at localhost. No, it's not even that. Okay. We connect. We don't have migration set up to the database yet. So we need to connect as Postgres and then set up that database. I have a command window somewhere. Leave it there and just bigify it a little bit. Okay. We'll restart this. Okay, we should have two things running now. So I should be able to say minus P 432, and we're going to connect this Postgres. Lowercase p. Was it Postgres? No. What did I call it? It's the wrong changer. I call it password. Okay. Okay, and then I should be able to say create database. Okay, so I'm going to create user bookie test, and password will be bookie test. And then we can create database bookie owner bookie test. Okay, I think that should be it. Give that for a bit. Don't come back there. Okay, so now we should be able to say PostgreSQL bookie test. Password was also bookie test, and there was localhost colon 65432. Okay, I need to run the migrations. So we'll need to import those as well. All of this stuff. Okay. So run migration. And then this one will come from environment DB. And this one will come from booking DB. The only problem we have is new manager. I don't know what that is. One type error and I can run a test. Okay. I guess I could stick it into Google, see what it thinks. HTTP client, might be that. Is that a thing that they've imported? They have not. Now HTTP client hiding proxy. It is that. Okay. Don't do that. No. Yes. Network HTTP client. Isn't it right? Now HTTP.client. Go away. Oh, it's a member of a hidden package. HTTP client. Okay. Go back to Cabal. HTTP client. Give it a second to install everything. I guess I'm installing it because it's part of base, it's just hidden. And then we say hiding proxy. Okay. Why do you think it's not there? Because I haven't imported it into the test, I haven't imported it into main. So it doesn't know about it. Anyway, new manager is now working. Okay, does this run? Seems a bit unlikely. Ooh. Okay, I'm not importing, I haven't added servant to servant client or persistent or control monad to the Cabal file for the test stuff. Well, I remember that. So it was all the servant stuff. Probably persistent Postgres. And then control monad. Anywhere? Monad logger. Okay. Try it again. Let's give it a second to finish. Okay. What have I missed this time? Oh, nonsense for show environment. Interesting. And it did not like me binding everything to a single underscore. I think. Actually, no, it's not even that. It's that I have no to environment to suggestion for new environment. Oh, interesting. I didn't need to write this before because I never needed to programmatically convert this into JSON, but now I do. What's unhappy about here? No instance for unlift AO, so I need to lift that one, I think. Probably the same thing here. Kinda. Okay, let's see if we can fix these things. So, back to the spec. Okay. So this runs to the login T, which is here. This type is port to IO. So there's a function that's going to be passed in at the end here. To IO. So it should be under IO, I think. So saying something like lift IO here wouldn't make any sense. Just rebuild that. Maybe it doesn't build the test actually. Maybe this is pointless. No, it doesn't build the test. Let me just run stack test. Yeah, left it doesn't make any sense there. Oh, I can't even do that. Okay, so it's saying the type is this thing. I can't edit reduce and also say do, I think. I think it's to do with that. So this is call this X. No, let's call it F actually. There's a function in it. And then I'll ditch my lift IO. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any help from the language server here because it can't do the import, so it thinks it can't run. The other error we have is run SQL pool, which is a similar thing. Might be fixed, might not. Let's find out. Yes, it is. Okay, so the only problem we have left is that we can't turn the environment into a JSON. Okay. Let me go to DAO and let's look at how you write to JSON. Oh, we just say instance, but it's not really what I want. I want to control how it gets turned into JSON. I want to do the opposite of our from JSON, effectively. Yeah, because we want to convert the name into something like new environment name. We're going to convert that back into the JSON string name. I have to look that up because I don't know how that works. So we could say JSON to JSON. Let's just search for JSON. No, I don't know what I did there. To JSON. Yeah, that's good. So object something dot equals. Okay. So if we go back to here, times are getting on, let's do this quickly. So instance to JSON, oops, new environment, where is it called to JSON? Yeah, it is. To JSON. Okay, and this is going to take something of type new environment and we're going to have environment name equals object, and then object, and then a list of things. So it'll be a string name and dot equals, and then new environment name. New environment name. I need language extension for name field puns. It's not called to JSON. It is called to JSON. What? Need to import it. Okay, object is dot equals. Oops. What is that? Okay, what does that do to our testing? No instance for show environment. Is that the last one? Looks like it. Okay. Can we derive it somehow? So if we go back to DB and set environment, I thought it's already derived show. Can you say something like instant show environment? No. Okay, that's awkward. So I need some kind of let's reformat the whole file. It's annoying. I mean, I take it I can't do that. I'd be surprised if I could do that. It didn't do anything. Okay, let me do what I just did. So the environment here is coming from an environment, right? It is, yep. Which is being exported from DB. This is annoying that I did this. So we could maybe say something like persistent show Haskell show. Instance. I don't want a general guide to show. I want to know how to do it for persistent. It's getting quite complicated now, I guess. I'm surprised you can't show this automatically. maybe try writing one quickly. So instance, it doesn't seem right though, because in their example of the test, they didn't need to do this. Why did they not need to do it? So let's go all the way back up. So they have data user deriving show. Of course, they're not doing it from persistent, that's why. Okay. Instance show environment where show e equals to JSON e, but that's not what's in show. What's in show? How do you implement this instance? So a second ago I said I don't care about how show works in general, but maybe I do. Instance show should be show instance show environment where show whatever equals show blah. So maybe it's just an import issue. Can I add it to Prelude? Can I import this? To JSON return something. Let's just show that. Okay, this is a horrible solution. I just want to try and get the compiler to run. The compiler did not run. Nonsense for EQ. Oh, goodness sake. Instance EQ environment environment where equals something else and b, I guess. So we can say I just say they're always equal. Like, I don't care. No, I do care. So I can say something like name A is equal to name of B. It's not name, is it? It's environment name. Okay, does it need anything else? Okay, a whole lot of new problems. So I don't need persistent anymore. And port shows existing binding. Okay, so oops. Let's see if we can get through these. So minimize that. Just won't import that. what's the error we had? Which I import and this unnecessary import. Oh my goodness, excellent. Okay, cool. So progress. The database does not exist. Nearly there. I need to specify the DB name. I can't remember how to do that, but I can remember how to do this. You just create it, basically. Okay. Wow. Okay, cool. So I created it and it worked, I think. It doesn't seem right, but anyway, let's see if it really does work. So we should say test env is equal to not test env. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Okay. A lot of work, but finally we can run a test where it spins up a copy of our application, it sends a request to it to create something, and then it checks that it gets the correct response coming back. A lot of work, but it works now, so that's pretty cool. Except I'm going to stop at this point then, because I'm already quite a bit over time. But next week, now that we have the framework of the apparatus in place, hopefully next week we can come back and we can make it work better. Yeah, we can write some better tests to say things like create something and then check it exists. Those kind of sort of integration style tests. Cool. So we got there in the end, I guess. It's a good thing. Thank you very much for watching along. Yeah, and next week we'll make the tests good, I think. Cool. Hopefully see you next week. Goodbye.